to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Hello and welcome to Deep Sleep Stories. You've arrived here perhaps a bit weary from the day, ready to be gently guided into a world where soft enchantments and cozy comforts invite you to rest. Before the night carries you off into dreams, take a moment to settle in. Feel the weight of your head against your pillow, the warmth that surrounds you, and the quiet hush that seems to cradle everything around you. Know that in the next little while you can let go of anything that brought you stress or tension and simply allow your breath to flow. Picture your inhalations as gentle waves rolling into a peaceful shore, and your exhalations as the soft retreat of the tide, leaving you a little more relaxed each time. In tonight's tale, you will hear about an old gingerbread cottage that sits hidden in a snowy clearing, surrounded by frosted candy canes. Close your eyes if you wish, and trust that you're safe here in this tranquil space. Now take one more long, slow breath, feeling your body sink deeply into comfort. Gently exhale, releasing any lingering concerns. As you do, let your mind begin to drift into a whimsical land where sugar-frosted wonders sparkle beneath a velvet sky. When you're ready, the story will begin. Far away in a land graced by eternal winter magic, there stood a clearing draped in layers of white powder and faint golden light. This place lay nestled between tall evergreens whose branches sagged beneath the weight of a dusting of snow, forming a silent cathedral of nature. The ground shimmered under the sun during the day, and at night, moonbeams lit up every sparkling flake. Yet the hush here was never lonely. Hidden among the sugar-dusted pines, a gingerbread cottage leaned cozily against the trunk of an ancient tree, as though placed by the gentle hands of a kindly spirit. It was a charming little dwelling with walls of sturdy gingerbread, their edges sealed with ribbons of white icing. Candy window panes gleamed like stained glass, and gumdrop accents peeked out along the sloping roof. A trail of powdered sugar served as a pathway leading from the forest edge right up to the candy-striped front door. In that clearing, each breath of air was crisp, yet laced with the faint aroma of peppermint and caramel. The world itself tasted sweet on the tongue, as if the very snow might be dusted with confectioner's sugar. Beyond the cottage, tall candy canes emerged from the ground like whimsical trees, each one gleaming with a thin coat of frost that sparkled in the subdued winter sun. Around them, the soft hush of gently falling flakes was a lullaby for all who ventured near. Birds with downy pastel feathers would flit by, singing a lullaby so gentle it might soothe even the weariest traveler. This was a corner of the world, untouched by harshness, where time moved at a lullaby's pace and dreams felt close enough to touch. Within the protective circle of those frosted candy canes, a quiet figure named Rosa lived. She was a gentle caretaker, someone who had wandered into the forest years ago and found solace in this sweet, hidden realm. Rosa was neither young nor old. She had that timeless quality often found in kindly souls. She had soft, warm eyes that shone with acceptance, as though she welcomed all visitors to share in her simple joys. Each day, she stepped outside onto the powdered sugar path, dressed in a cozy cloak that shimmered in the sunlight like spun sugar. She tended to the candy canes growing in rows around her gingerbread cottage, checking for any icicles that might weigh them down and brushing away snowflakes that dared to cling too long. She spoke to them in a hushed, affectionate tone, almost like a gentle guardian caring for cherished companions. For here, in this enchanted place, even the candy canes were alive with quiet magic, their curling tops swaying gently in the breeze, and their stripes glistening with frosty brilliance. On a crisp morning, when the sky was tinted with pale lavender and the air smelled sweet, Rosa's day began with a soft stirring. Snow had fallen all through the night, blanketing the clearing in a pillowy embrace. When the first rays of daylight peered over the horizon, they filtered through the trees, making the clearing glimmer like an undiscovered treasure. Rosa stepped out, her boots leaving shallow footprints in the powdered sugar path. She stood for a moment in front of the gingerbread cottage, her gaze drifting across the snow-laden land. Icicles hung from the edges of the roof like delicate crystals, catching the nascent sunlight in a gentle prism of color. She breathed in the fresh stillness, letting her heart fill with the forest's serenity. Across from the cottage, the candy canes rose in stately rows. Each one boasted bright red and white stripes, a pattern so clear and vibrant that it seemed lovingly painted by a careful hand. The frost that had settled on them overnight was now shining under the first rays of morning. It was a quiet, magical sight. Those candy canes standing proudly like winter guardians, their sweet fragrance mingling with the scent of pine and gingerbread. Rosa walked among them slowly, pausing here and there to ensure no creature had nibbled away too large a bite of candy. Sometimes, forest animals found these frosty treats too tempting to resist, though they always did so gently and with a sense of mutual respect. Often, tiny deer with snowy coats would wander in to lick a bit of sweet frost, then leap away gracefully, leaving only delicate hoof prints behind. As Rosa continued her morning rounds, she reached up to pat the curly top of each candy cane, whispering greetings as though speaking to old friends. There was a sense that the candy canes responded to her in their own quiet way, perhaps through subtle twinkling or a gentle shift in the glistening frost. Rosa carefully removed any stubborn chunks of ice, humming a lullaby under her breath. The notes of her song carried easily in the clear, still air, weaving around the trunks of the evergreens and drifting toward the sky. It was an old tune, possibly older than the forest itself, filled with soft, wordless cadences that lulled even the wind into a tender hush. Beyond the rows of candy canes lay a small orchard of shimmering gumdrop fruit. Tiny bushes bowed beneath the weight of sweet, jewel-toned gumdrops, each coated with a light dusting of sugar. And behind that orchard, hidden from casual sight, was a round pond with water so clear it reflected the sky perfectly, as though the heavens themselves were held within it. This pond never froze solid. A mild warmth from beneath the earth kept its surface liquid. Now and then, rosy-hued ducks with little peppermint stripes across their feathers would glide gracefully across the pond, their silhouettes mirrored on the water's still surface. Every aspect of this land seemed wrapped in an otherworldly calm, as though it existed solely to cradle gentle dreams. Once Rosa had finished checking on the candy canes, she returned to the Gingerbread Cottage, carefully opening the candy-striped door. The interior welcomed her with a gentle glow. Warm candlelight dancing along the gingerbread walls, soft pillows fluffed and arranged on a cozy sofa, and a low fire crackling in a marshmallow brick hearth. The smell of cinnamon and nutmeg perfumed the air, mixing with the faint aroma of sweet dough that always lingered here. Every corner of the cottage seemed designed to shelter visitors in comfort. A small table by the window held an assortment of peppermint swirls and spiced cookies on a cheerful plate, ready for anyone who might stop by. That morning, Rosa decided she would tend to her sugar snow recipes, for she loved to create small treats and confections to share with the forest creatures and any travelers who might find their way to the cottage. She moved around the kitchen in a slow, deliberate manner, gathering ingredients in wooden bowls, a bit of powdered sugar, a dash of creamy peppermint syrup, perhaps a pinch of shimmering dust that carried a hint of warmth. Each step in her routine was unhurried and intentional, as though honoring the simple beauty of the moment. She stood at a wide wooden counter, kneading a pliant dough that smelled like winter spice, letting her mind wander in a gentle reverie. Outside, a soft hush continued to blanket the clearing. Snow drifted in drowsy flurries, swirling around the candy canes and drifting lazily against the cottage walls. Time felt fluid here. Minutes stretched like gentle ribbons, unspooling softly, leaving space for thoughts and daydreams to mingle. Even the trees and animals seemed to abide by a slower clock, one orchestrated by the gentle hush of the falling snow. Squirrels with little tufts of frosty fur scurried quietly around tree trunks, gathering small crystals of sugar that had fallen from the candy canes. Now and then, they'd pause to nibble at the sweet flakes, their bright eyes glancing around, as if to share a fleeting secret with the forest. In late morning, a traveler happened upon the edge of the clearing. Shrouded in a warm cloak, they paused to marvel at the sight of the candy cane forest. The traveler had been wandering, lulled by the hush of winter, seeking a place of rest. Although the traveler did not know precisely what they were looking for, something drew them closer to the frosted candy canes, beckoning them with a sense of welcome. As they stepped softly between the striped pillars of candy, their eyes widened in awe at the gentle sparkle of frost. Each breath they took carried the scent of peppermint, sugar, and a touch of magic. A stillness enveloped them, filling them with calm. And so they pressed onward, footprints muffled by the snowy ground, heart feeling lighter with every step. When they neared the Gingerbread Cottage, Rosa saw them through the candy windows and offered a warm smile. Setting aside her dough, she opened the door with a friendly wave, as though greeting an old friend. Sensing the travelers' quiet wonder, Rosa led them into the cottage's comforting interior, motioning for them to warm themselves by the marshmallow hearth. The traveler gazed around the cozy living space, at the gingerbread walls trimmed with icing, at the plush chairs arranged in a circle, at the faint glow of sugar crystal lamps that cast gentle patterns on the floor. Rosa handed them a steaming mug of peppermint cocoa, encouraging them to sip slowly. The warmth of the mug traveled through the traveler's chilly fingers, and the sweet taste soothed them, making the journey's weariness fade. As the day progressed in its steady, unhurried fashion, Rosa and her guest shared stories in hushed voices. The traveler spoke of far-off lands with rolling hills and golden fields, of bustling villages and winding roads. Rosa listened patiently, delighting in every detail. Outside the window, the snow continued its gentle drift. Occasionally, a gust of wind would lift a swirl of flakes that shimmered around the cottage before settling back onto the candy canes. The traveler soon noticed the time seemed to unravel in graceful ribbons here. Moments no longer raced by. Instead, each one settled softly, allowing the traveler's mind to rest in a serene lull. After a while, Rosa suggested taking a walk through the candy cane rows, a simple stroll to stretch their legs and admire the winter wonderland. Together, they stepped back outside. The sun was gently veiled behind pale clouds, leaving the clearing in a pearly glow. Snow crunched softly underfoot. The traveler marveled at how the candy canes appeared like living sculptures, each unique in the pattern of its frosting. Some had intricate swirls of red, twisting around the white stripes in delicate braids. Others had small flecks of sparkling sugar that caught the light, giving them an almost otherworldly glint. From a distance, the candy canes seemed tall as trees, but up close one could see the graceful curves in their design, as if shaped with care by loving hands. Rosa led the traveler to a special candy cane at the heart of the clearing. It stood a little taller, and on its surface faint lines of silver sparkles appeared whenever light passed over it just so. Rosa traced a gentle fingertip along one of these lines, and for a moment the traveler thought they heard a delicate humming sound, almost a playful sigh. The caretaker explained that this particular candy cane was among the oldest in the clearing, one that witnessed every subtle shift of the seasons. It had endured countless nights of gentle snowfall and always emerged glinting and regal, as though each frost only made it stronger. There was something comforting in that idea that each new layer of snow simply added to the candy cane's charm. Moving on, they walked until they reached the orchard of gumdrop fruit. The bushes were low to the ground, weighed down by clusters of red, green, and yellow gumdrops, dusted with crystalline sugar. Some were shaped like plump little berries, while others resembled tiny bells, their surfaces reflecting the soft winter light. The traveler knelt down to look closely, enchanted by the way the sugar crystals sparkled in a rainbow of colors. Rosa plucked one or two gumdrops and handed them to the traveler with a smile, urging them to taste. The flavor was sweet and delightfully fruity, reminding the traveler of carefree days when small pleasures could spark boundless joy. A grateful warmth blossomed in the traveler's chest, made all the more precious by the peaceful quiet of this realm. They continued their leisurely stroll until they reached the still pond where the peppermint-feathered ducks swam. Each duck glided gracefully on the tranquil water, leaving behind gentle ripples that shimmered under the pale light. Now and then, one of the ducks dipped its head beneath the surface, emerging with a pearly droplet that caught the traveler's eye. It was a tranquil scene that felt like stepping into a painting of an enchanted winter dream. The traveler stood there, letting the hush of the clearing fill them. One duck floated near, looking up with curious, twinkling eyes. There was an unspoken closeness in that moment, a silent assurance that all was well, that peace and comfort were within reach. If only one opened their heart to the gentle magic of this place. Feeling the chill nipping softly at their cheeks, Rosa and the traveler returned to the cozy warmth of the Gingerbread Cottage. By now, the afternoon had settled into a dreamy haze, and the light outside had begun to soften, turning the snow into gentle swells of pastel color. They settled by the hearth, where a fresh batch of pastries and treats awaited. Rosa poured more steaming cocoa, adding a swirl of whipped cream that glistened like fresh snow. The sweet aroma of spiced cookies filled the cottage, offering nourishment not only for the body but for the spirit as well. The traveler took a seat on a plush cushion, feeling a delicious heaviness in their limbs. That pleasant kind of tiredness that comes from wandering in a realm of hushed wonders. Comfortable silence stretched between them, broken only by the crackling of the marshmallow logs in the hearth. The traveler's gaze wandered across the gingerbread walls, tracing the icing patterns that formed whimsical shapes, flowers, leaves, and delicate vines. It was as if the cottage itself carried a living, breathing artistry, each swirl of frosting telling a silent tale of warmth and welcome. Occasionally, the traveler's eyes fluttered shut, drifting close to a doze. Rosa, sensing the traveler's drowsiness, simply smiled. There was no rush here. The minutes meandered by like a slow, comforting lullaby. As evening settled over the clearing, a soft twilight glow filled the cottage. Outside, the shadows of the frosted candy canes stretched long across the snow, creating gentle stripes of dusk and moonlight. Rosa lit a few candles, their flames flickering with a golden hush. She showed the traveler a small book filled with recipes and sketches, pictures of new candy canes she hoped to grow, notes on sugar snow confections, and doodles of the forest creatures who sometimes visited. The traveler turned the pages slowly, each page crinkling gently under their fingertips. Even without many words, the book told a story of someone who found simple joy in the quiet wonders around them. Before long, the sky outside deepened to a velvety cobalt, and the first stars appeared, glittering like tiny crystals. The trees and candy canes seemed to lean in toward the cottage, forming a protective barrier around it, keeping out any thought of worry or strife. In the distance, a faint swirl of northern lights began to shimmer, painting the sky in ripples of pale green and lavender. The traveler, watching from the window, felt a calm so profound it brought gentle tears to their eyes. A sweet release that held no sadness, just overflowing gratitude for the serenity of this hidden world. Inside, the warmth of the hearth wrapped around them like a welcoming blanket. Rosa brought out a small dessert, frosted candy cane slices served on a peppermint plate, each piece topped with a dusting of powdered sugar and a drizzle of honey. The treat was both crisp and creamy, melting on the tongue with each bite. Together they savored the taste, unhurried, grateful for the delicious moment. After finishing, the traveler leaned back in their chair, letting out a slow sigh of contentment. The corners of their mouth curved into a quiet smile. Outside, the hush of nighttime settled in, broken only by the soft whisper of a breeze through the treetops. As the hour grew late, Rosa guided the traveler to a cozy nook in the cottage, a corner where a comfortable bed had been prepared, complete with gingerbread headboard and fluffy blankets. The traveler lowered themselves onto the bed, feeling the gentle give of the mattress beneath them. The blanket was as soft as a cloud, and the pillows smelled faintly of cinnamon. Candles burned low, their glow an amber lullaby on the gingerbread walls. In this sweet, enclosed space, the traveler felt the day's gentle adventures drifting into a dreamlike haze. Rosa offered a quiet good night, her voice a mere whisper, and left a single candle flickering on the bedside. The traveler lay still for a moment, eyelids growing heavy. Snowflakes tapped lightly against the candy pane windows, and the soft rush of wind wove through the clearing. Somewhere outside, the peppermint feathered ducks tucked in their heads for the night, and the forest creatures curled up in hollows of warm snow. Even the candy canes seemed to settle, their frosted stripes glowing faintly under the moonlight as though entering a restful slumber of their own. The entire clearing felt like a cradle of winter lullabies, singing softly of peace and stillness. All through the night, a hush wrapped around the gingerbread cottage, shielding it from any echoes of the bustling world beyond the forest. Time moved without noise or urgency, measured only by the gentle rise and fall of dreams. Now and then, the moonlight shifted, revealing dancing shadows that flickered across the gingerbread walls, tiny performances of light and shape that carried only tranquility. The traveler slept deeply, lulled by the knowledge that in this place nothing rushed and nothing demanded. Here, rest itself was a cherished state, nurtured by frosted magic and kindly care. Eventually dawn approached once more, bringing the faintest hint of a rosy glow to the horizon. The traveler stirred, drifting between sleep and waking, not quite ready to leave the comforting embrace of the bed. The quiet murmur of the forest was a gentle reminder that morning was near. Outside, birds began their soft chorus, their lullaby-like melodies continuing from where the silence of the night left off. Snow sparkled in the early light, brushing the windows with subtle glints. Another peaceful day was preparing to unfurl in the clearing. Rosa, already awake, moved about the cottage, making sure the hearth was stoked for warmth. She placed a fresh pot of cocoa on a low flame, its steam rising in gentle tendrils. She glanced toward the traveler's nook, smiling at the sight of restful sleep. Without haste, she arranged a small morning meal, crumbly pastries with sugared tops, a bowl of fresh berries that seemed to glow with color against the pastel morning, and a pitcher of water tinted by slices of citrus fruit. It was a humble feast, but filled with sweetness and care. By the time the traveler roused fully, Rosa was seated at the table, humming her soft lullaby under her breath. She beckoned the traveler over, inviting them to enjoy breakfast. Slipping out of the comfortable bed, the traveler noticed how their body felt, light and refreshed, as though cleansed of any fatigue they'd carried. They joined Rosa at the table, breathing in the sweet aromas filling the cottage. Outside, the candy canes still gleamed in the delicate morning light, each stripe outlined with a subtle shimmer of frost. They shared the simple meal in companionable quiet, broken only by appreciative murmurs for the delicious pastries and fruit. The warm cocoa was soothing, as though the essence of the forest itself had been melted into each sip. The traveler found themselves reflecting on their journey, remembering how the cottage and clearing seemed to appear in just the right moment, offering rest and gentle enchantment. Rosa listened to their thoughts with serene attention, nodding kindly, her eyes reflecting an understanding that went beyond words. Eventually, with the meal finished, the traveler knew it was time to continue onward, back to the broader world. Their heart felt equal parts hopeful and wistful, reluctant to leave such a sanctuary of warmth and quiet. Yet Rosa reassured them that the memory of this place would linger in their mind and spirit, ready to be revisited whenever they felt the need for solace. One last time they walked through the frosted candy canes side by side. The traveler admired how the morning light caught on the stripes, giving each candy cane a gentle halo. Stepping beyond the clearing, the traveler carried a small pouch of sugared treats and a renewed sense of peace. Long after the traveler's footprints faded into the distance, the Gingerbread Cottage remained a beacon in the enchanted forest. Rosa continued her daily rituals, tending to the candy canes, humming lullabies to the orchard, and welcoming any new visitor who might come seeking rest. Day after day, the snow would fall, the frost would form, and the clearing would shimmer in quiet enchantment. And so the story of the frosted candy canes by the old gingerbread cottage continued, unfolding in hushed moments, guiding souls toward the tender embrace of sleep and peaceful dreams. Now, as you sink deeper into the sweet calm that fills this realm, let the hush of the forest lull you. The candy cane rows are still there, standing tall in the moonlight or the early glow of dawn, steadfast reminders that softness and warmth can be found in the coldest of seasons. With each gentle breath, feel yourself drifting into a tranquility free of worry. Remember that this place of quiet magic endures, waiting whenever you need its comforting presence. Breathe in slowly, sensing the subtle sweetness in the air, and exhale gently, letting every last tendril of tension slip away. In the soft cradle of night, under a sky woven of starlight and gentle breezes, let your breath become even slower. Each exhalation carries you further into rest, as though you're floating on a serene winter stream. Should you imagine the frosted candy canes and their enchanting glow, let them guide you toward the threshold of your dreams. Let the warm glow of the gingerbread cottage be a safe haven in your mind, a reminder that you can always find peace within yourself, just as the traveler did. Soon your eyes grow heavy, and every muscle melts into the softness beneath you. The hush of the snow-filled forest hums like a lullaby in the back of your awareness, soothing you, cradling you. Let yourself surrender to the gentle pull of slumber. The story has whispered its magic to you, and now its notes linger in the edges of your thoughts, promising rest, comfort, and renewal. Let go of the last bits of wakefulness. Feel the warmth blooming in your chest, the soothing calm in your limbs. The frosted candy canes by the old gingerbread cottage stand watch in your imagination, their gentle frost shining in quiet acceptance. You are safe, enveloped by a profound sense of ease. May the sweet calm of this realm stay with you as you drift off. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.